Welcome to the Green Wasp Removal YouTube channel. In this episode, we remove a very active Eastern Yellowjacket, or Vespula maculifrons nest, from a compost bin in the backyard of a private residence. Eastern Yellowjackets are a beneficial native species here in the eastern part of the Midwest in North America, where they're very helpful pollinators and important biological pest control agents. When they're located in a safe place, they should be left alone to thrive in the ecosystem. But when they're too close to people, they need to be removed sometimes. They attack instantly and in force when they're disturbed, and they can be very dangerous, especially to people with venom allergies. We'll show you the collection process and the removal of the brood comb, and how we identified the queen and made sure she was in the bin so that she can't rebuild the nest when we're gone. You see her here in the red circle. She's always very easy to identify when compared to the size of the small workers around her. Once we had the queen contained, we then went ahead and froze all of the other wasp specimens we collected that day. These are mostly female foragers who have venom sacs and stingers, and they are the ones that we need for venom immunotherapy. So these specimens get flash frozen immediately in the field using dry ice, and we'll show you how that process works. We keep ice in the vehicle at all times. That way when we're out in the field, we can just take care of that immediately as we collect the wasps. We'll also show you how we bring the brood comb back in a container, and we transfer that brood comb into a converted chest freezer that has now been used as a free-range incubation box so that they can live out in the wild and they can rebuild their nest right inside that box. It seems to work pretty well. For now, let's take you back to July 17th, 2025, and we'll show you the entire process. Thanks for riding along with us. Enjoy the show. July 17th, 2025. We're at a private residence today, and we're going to be collecting what looks like Eastern Yellowjackets, Vespula maculifrons today. Very busy, active nest today. So we're going to collect a specimen now and just put it in this jar. And once we have it contained, we're going to go ahead and get a species ID on it. So here we have a couple of the Eastern Yellowjackets contained in a specimen ID container, and you can tell by the mark you see here at the upper part of the abdomen that this is an Eastern Yellowjacket. The mark looks a little bit like the hook on a old-fashioned anchor, ship anchor, and that's always indicative of an Eastern Yellowjacket species. So once we have the ID done and we know what species we're dealing with, now it's time just to turn on the vac and get it placed right near the opening of this nest. And this will contain most of the foraging wasps that are out flying, that are out attacking, that are spreading the attack pheromone. It'll just contain them all by sucking them into the collection bottle. You can see in this footage how aggressive this species is. They're very defensive of their immediate surroundings around the nest. So imagine you were trying to dig out some mulch from your compost bin. You stick your trowel or your shovel in there, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a cloud of stinging insects in your face. This is the problem with these sorts of native beneficial wasps. They are quite good for the ecosystem, but in general, they are the most aggressive and dangerous wasps that we have in this area. It's simply because they have hidden nests underground a lot of the time, or in leaf piles or mulch piles. This kind of thing is common with Eastern Yellowjackets, which is scientifically called Vespula maculifrons. And this species really belongs in the ecosystem here. Without this species doing what they do, a lot of our pest insects in this area would overpopulate. What you see here is very typical of Eastern Yellowjackets. They're very aggressive, and they immediately attack the gloves, the suit, the veil. So it's very important, if you collect this species or you try to eradicate them, be very aware of that. They're kind of like the killer bees of wasps. Here we had a vac suddenly overheat and it just died all of a sudden, so we had to cap off the collection bottle and hook up a secondary vac. This is part of the reason you always have to watch your gear. You have to monitor every job. You can never leave something fully automated and unattended. We also have 2 or 3 different vacs in the vehicle all the time. It's redundant gear exactly for this reason. So you can see in just a few minutes, we've already got quite a number of them collected. And we're going to switch vacuums now and collect some more. What we have here is a small vac hooked up to a vented tube so we can adjust the pressure as needed through taping up various holes on the device. And that runs all the way to the collection bottle where we collect specimens. And that pressure comes all the way up back through the vac and out through the back vent. So that's why we keep the vac away from the collection point. Otherwise, what you'll find is the pheromone travels up the vac, comes out the vent, and they'll hover around the vent because they smell their attack pheromone. You don't want that, so we separate it with a long pole for that reason. The specimen bottle's filling up pretty quickly. So the initial swarm is calming down because most of them now have been collected. As they try to return to the nest, they continually get sucked into the collection bottle. And that's exactly what we want. A nice controlled collection that doesn't let the swarm get out of hand. As you see here on the glove, they attack the gloves and they get stuck in the leather. They can't get out because they can't escape from a leather glove. In human skin, they can get in and out of skin, no problem. But with the glove, they cannot get out. So they actually will tug and tug and tug until they disembowel themselves, trying to escape the glove.
coming in trying to get me through the veil, but the visors prevent that from happening. So what we're doing now is just stirring up the nest a little bit here and there, intentionally stirring them up, trying to get them to swarm so that they can be collected.
So once we have the initial swarm contained, as you see here, everything sort of calms down, and most of the attacking wasps are now inside the collection device. So it's time to go in and dig out the brood comb. This is the paper-covered structure where the eggs, larvae, and pupae are kept by the wasps inside the nest. There's usually also a number of wasps inside the nest that are adult wasps caring for the brood. We had to be very careful with the excavation on this one because there was a lot of weight of compost above the nest. So as we dug it out, the concern we had here was that it was going to collapse. All of the filled compost that filled up this bin was going to collapse down and crush the nest. We're always trying to get the nest out intact so we can contain it and then bring it into our incubation habitats at the barn lab, and we can continue to collect from it. As more adult wasps pupate out of the nest, we'll collect them for VIT, or Venom Immunotherapy. And you can't see it very well on video, but we also discovered there was a massive nest of very small brown ants covering most of the area where we were working. So we were trying to get a lot of those ants sort of shoved away off to the side in some of the mulch and soil around the nest so they wouldn't invade the nest and ruin it, because ants are a natural predator of wasp nests. They will eat the larvae, eat the eggs. So we were trying very quickly to get all of those ants shoved away from this nest. We were suddenly finding ants all over the tools, all over the gloves, the knee pads, the boots. It was getting a little crazy, so we were doing our best to just shove all that out of the way before it could get any worse. Here we just take a break to just knock some of the ants off of the gloves, off the tools and boots and the bee suit, because what you don't want is a bunch of stinging or biting ants getting through all the holes in the suit, and they're small enough to do that, so it's important to keep ants under control while you're working. Here we get ready to remove the actual brood comb, the nest itself. So as we make a little bit more room for the nest, we're doing two things here. We're looking for a queen just in case she's out and about running around the nest. We do not want to miss that queen just in case she tries to rebuild after we're gone. And the other thing we're trying to do is just make enough space that we can pull the nest out intact, preferably, because it keeps a lot of the wasps inside the nest, and then we can just lift it out and put it into the container. So here you see we're about to pull the nest over. See what it looks like there. We're going to freeze the frame here, You can see worker wasps in there tending to the brood. You can see some brand new wasps that have just come out of pupation and they're not quite ready to go out and fly yet. So once you get to this point, most of what's on the nest is not in attack mode anymore. Most of those are already contained.
Now that we have the nest out, we need to find the queen just to verify that she's present in the nest. There she is. You can see the size of her. She's quite large compared to the other wasp in there. There she is right there.
Here we'll freeze the frame for you for just a second so you get an idea how large this queen is. Compared to the workers on the right, you see the queen. She's very full-bodied. She's much longer and much larger in general. And so we knew now that we had the queen contained and we could just close up the bin.
So, now that we know we have the queen, we're going to close it up. Look at this thing, that's a giant one. I don't know what that is, but...
Here we bumped into a fairly large spider that had an egg sac attached to the end of its abdomen. We're not sure if this was a brown recluse spider, which is poisonous and very venomous, or maybe something more harmless, maybe a wolf spider. We don't know spiders that well, but we're always glad to have gloves on in this scenario.
It is, but whatever it is, it's making a big old egg sac. Let that one live, it's probably beneficial.
Here's a better image of this spider. We believe this to be Tigrosa, Helluo, maybe wolf spider. If somebody has another idea about what species this is, go ahead and leave us a comment and let us know what you think.
So it can live. We're just digging through now, make sure we didn't miss any parts of the nest. Mostly ants on us today, more than wasps. There's a million ants in this colony, all over this thing. So we're trying to stay out of the ant nest. All right, so there's no more sign of any type of nest in there. So we're going to call that one complete. We don't see any more foragers flying anywhere. So at this point, it looks like we've got the whole nest contained, except for the few foragers that are out in the environment. So we've got a number of them collected today. It's a good collection for venom immunotherapy. We have our Vespula maculifrons nest, Eastern Yellowjacket, very beneficial species, small wasps, very aggressive. Good to have these removed if they're in your garden and they're going to be nearby human activity, because they can be quite dangerous if they're in the wrong location. But if they're in a place where they're not bothering you, you absolutely want to let them stay in the ecosystem and do their good work. All right, so now we're going to freeze these wasps here in the field. And the way we do that is we use dry ice, as you see here. First, we take out enough to make room for the container. These are called pellets. They come out in long strands and they cut them up into small pellets. They're still rather large compared to rice, which we also use, which are the size of and look a little bit more like small grains of rice. So we take the wasps and we lay them down into the ice. And then we bury them in the pellets. And this will freeze them and knock them out immediately through CO2 gas. So it's a good, quick, humane way to freeze them instantly. And we'll take our nest and we'll put it on top of the cooler, keep it a little bit cool and out of the sun until we can get it back to base where we can incubate it for venom immunotherapy. So here you have the nest. You can see here there's quite a bit of pupating larvae in there, and there's also a lot of less mature larvae that have not yet woven their silk caps. But all of these wasps will be collected for venom immunotherapy. July 18th, 2025. Here we see the Eastern Yellowjacket nest that we had removed from the compost bin. Has pupated out quite a number more wasps. Some of them are out and about in the habitat we've set up here for them, just a temporary plastic bin. So as you can see here, it remains very active. There's the queen right there. And she looks healthy and like she's still taking care of business, holding down the nest. So today we're going to relocate this nest into a incubator box that's free range, and we'll see if these wasps are interested in continuing this nest in the wild. We have our maculifrons nest here that has been pupating out in captivity for a little bit. We're going to put them into an incubation box, which is just an old chest freezer. We cut a hole and we put in some animal and bird wire so the wasps don't get attacked and they can come and go in free range while they support their nests. So we're going to put this nest inside this incubation box and let them go free range now. So what we're going to do is stack the nest the way it was found in nature. So it's upside down, the way it was oriented a bit in nature. And hopefully they will take over this space and let it become their new nest site. There she is. Let's leave her on her nest so she can find it and hopefully support it again. And now they can come and go as they need to from here.